So there are moments in your life where you realize, I don't know everything. In fact, that happens all the time. And today in this episode of DevCentral Connects, Jason and I are going to be joined by one of our technical trainers, and we're going to talk about how you can upskill or up-level your skills on F5 technology and other technology, and become even more knowledgeable than you were when you started, the day. So this is DevCentral Connects. We've also got some quick hot takes on some current, issues that are going on in the world today. As always, we are going to interact with you online. We are streaming live to YouTube and Facebook and LinkedIn and Periscope. And frankly, if there's a way to stream live to someplace, we're going after it. So we love seeing all you guys and interacting. So Jason, it's been a couple of minutes. It's good to be back on DevCentral Connects. How you been doing? My man?
I'm well. Yeah. In fact, I'm 3.5 to 4 hours from 10 days of PTO. So
nice.
Nice. Days off is nice. Sat in the middle of a lake in Tennessee on a forever long houseboat with 6 bedrooms, and houseboat was great. It's interesting with toddlers in the middle of a lake, but it was good. We had a good time.
Everyone has to wear the life jacket, the personal flotation device, right? Good to go. You don't have to. So I will make a comment really quick on the haircut. Now we're out of the crazy coronavirus quarantine where the barbershops and the salons and all that are back open now. And I recall the one show that you had the mohawk going on. So it looks like you've trimmed things back a little bit.
Yes, I did have the faux hawk for one episode, and yes, I got the side shaved a little bit, and
nice.
Some length taken off the top. So yes.
Lowered the ears a little bit.
Yep.
Okay, so before we start today, I got to throw this one out there. I've been checking out on social media channels and all that. There is a tendency for people to put out these little puzzles on, hey, if 2 dogs and 1 cat and a dragon are sitting on a bed and you walk in the room, how many feet are on the floor? And it's like, wait a minute, I don't have any idea. And then they'll post these things. And it's like, and then you get all the different comments, and every single comment, it seems like the person who posts it says, no, that's wrong.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't understand. And I don't want to call you out here, but I think you posted one not long ago.
I did.
About I think it involved a table with legs and chairs and whatever. So I'm not telling you to give us the answer, but talk us through maybe the problem statement.
So I don't remember all the details, but the gist of it was, if there are a grandma, a mom, a granddaughter, how many mothers are present or something like that, or how many legs are under the table of moms, or whatever it was. The person who wrote the riddle did a very poor job on that one in particular, because there's all kinds of ways that you could go. There's one person commented, well, technically the chair is under the table and it has legs, and then somebody commented, well, only 2 of those legs are likely under the table because the other ones are going to be outside the table. And what if the person only has 1 leg and
an amputee,
and the grandmother is still technically a mom? It's like, well, that's true, but she's or she's a daughter. It's like, well, she's a daughter, but she's the mom of her is not at the table. So if the riddle was written a little better, it would have been.
It would have been a little easier to answer. Yes. But, sometimes you read these things and you think, hey, all right, I'm looking for a very specific answer. And the person who posts the question or the riddle is looking for a very specific answer. And they just continue to say, no, you're wrong.
Well, the mechanics on that one is, if somebody gets the answer they expect, they delete it. And then they respond in Messenger, hey, you won. Now you have to post this.
Yeah, you're the big winner. Winner chicken dinner.
The ones that I really like, but really frustrate me, are the ones with the banana. 2 bananas plus 2 bananas plus 2 bananas, and then you got a guy. But then the last one has a guy missing the shoelaces, and it's 1 banana instead of 2, and it's a cookie with 5 chips instead of the 10 that were on the earlier one. So you have to.
You got to be,
the images are not high quality images.
No, they're the worst quality images.
And I'm old now, so I have to take a picture of it and blow it up so I can see
which
it.
makes it even more grainy, and just the pixels are just crazy. So yeah, it's
before we jump into
crazy.
stuff here, let's say hi to some people.
Yeah, it's great to see everybody.
Daryl and Boo, good to see you. Amine. I'm gonna take a shot and say I have no idea how to say that.
Amine. I'll be honest, really quick. By first glance, I thought that was anime, and I was like, "Hey, we're gonna go anime today."
Or as we'd say in the center of Missouri, we'd just say amine.
Amine.
So hello.
Right.
And
awesome.
Mamlish. Yeah. Hello. And Pasilva.
Pasilva is
our partner,
always rocking and rolling, man. Always rocking and rolling.
Yep. Diapa, hello. How are you doing?
To see you.
Leslie's joining us.
Personal flotation devices for the win.
That's right.
Yes.
Yep. And then we got some Facebook users. So if you want your name to show up right, there's a little message on the Facebook side that'll tell you you have to agree to something for that to be shared through to our streaming provider.
That's
Otherwise, if you enjoy just being Facebook user and you enjoy your anonymity.
Yeah. But I will wave back and say, hey, Facebook user.
That's right. And Marius, how you doing?
Marius Marque.
Yep.
I gotta just say hi to Marius. He is the world's leading expert in filters on Snapchat and Instagram and video. This man, if you have a video question about how to filter something out, you ask Marius Marque and he will answer it. And he will teach you everything you need to know. So great to see you, Marius.
We also have Moses and grown up Shinchan.
That's right.
Namaste.
Namaste. That's right.
Hey,
man.
We got a LinkedIn
user. Hi, folks. Yeah. We got LinkedIn users and Facebook users. So good to go, man. Yeah. Great to see everybody out there. It's it's cool to connect. That's what we do here on DevCentral Connects, right? We connect. So yeah. So
it would be wrong for us to call it if we didn't.
Right?
We don't want to be inauthentic in our titles.
Right. So, well, hey, so one person we're going to connect with today is one of the technical trainers at F5. His name is Andrew Long, and he's been at F5 for about 9.5 years. Been in training the whole time doing the training stuff. So making us all better, teaching us all new things, and hailing from the great state of Indiana, the Hoosier state, we have Andrew Long. So Andrew, thanks for joining us today.
Hey, you're welcome. It's nice to be here.
Awesome, man. Awesome. So we wanted to share with our audience the nature of technical training, and it's one of these, we've all been to training, we've done the in-person training, but now in the wake of coronavirus and quarantines and all that stuff, a lot of people are turning to more of a remote experience with just a lot of things, but certainly training is one of those things. But as luck would have it, you have been doing online remote training for a long time. So maybe talk to us just a quick minute about remote training in general. What are some of the things that are unique about remote training versus live in-person training, and how have you been able to to kind of work through that or use that even to your advantage?
Yeah, thanks, John. So we've been doing remote training for probably 10 years now, and even though things have been different lately with the coronavirus and people working from home, our jobs are different. My job hasn't changed at all. I'm pretty much the same. I've been doing these classes for probably 5 years remotely like this, and it's just fine tuning over the years doing that. The remote training that we provide is exactly the same training you would get as if we were on site or you're in one of our classrooms. The same books, the same labs, everything's the same. And the only thing that's not the same is the coffee.
Which, little known secret, we don't want the coffee to be the same, right? Not that our coffee is bad at F5 and our live training, but you can get whatever flavor you want at home, right?
And it's really important to know also that the training is not recorded. It's not a webinar. It is live training. And you get instructors like me, and we've got other instructors as well that we're here all day doing the training and helping with labs. And, I'm helping out with your lab. So if you've got a problem or you need me to jump in and help you out, I can do that. So it's pretty cool.
So I got a quick question on that. We just did a virtual agility lab. So, we held the agility conference virtually this year. We normally do it in person, obviously, and we do lab days and all that. But I had a chance to sit in on one of the virtual labs. And so as inevitably people are going to have questions about, hey, I missed section 1.2 or whatever. I missed the IP address back on that jump box or the, whatever, right? So what we did is we tried to take advantage of little breakout rooms where we would say, hey, we're going to move you over to a breakout, and then you can coordinate with an assistant. And then once you guys have got it all figured out, then come back into the main live lab, or training room or whatever.
Yeah.
Do you guys do a similar kind of thing for those unique questions, or how do you work all that?
Yeah, it's sort of balanced really. Zoom and even WebEx had breakout rooms as well. And I've actually never used those in the classes.
Okay.
Pretty much, if someone has an issue, we sort of deal with it as a class. And I'll usually, if someone has a problem, I'll put it up on the screen and we'll share it, and we'll work through the problem with the whole class. And so they'll get to see how to troubleshoot that. Okay. But, our classes are pretty small. We usually have a maximum of, between 12 or 16 people in a class.
Okay.
So there's enough time for me to get in there and help people individually. It's not I'm managing 50 people,
Right. Yeah. It doesn't have to scale out to thousands of attendees, right?
Right.
Not handing out 1,000 different, IP addresses or whatever. So cool.
Yeah.
How have the tools changed for you training remotely from, when you started doing remote training versus today?
Well, when I started doing remote training, we were just using audio and that was it. And then we added, video in WebEx, which was a bit challenging. It wasn't quite that polished. And since using Zoom video, it's just really cool. It really makes the classroom feel like you're actually in a classroom. But I'm also using some other tools. I use vMix, which is a video mixing software that helps us to integrate different things into the video stream. And so, I can share a desktop, which is what I do in the class. But I can also have that desktop behind me on the screen behind me. And as I'm going through the slides, it'll show up behind my head. So students don't even have to look at the shared screen. They could just look straight at the Zoom video and get everything straight from the Zoom video.
Nice. Which is, that is nice. Because sometimes when you share your screen, then, if you wanted to see anyone else in the class and they go into the little bitty, little bitty frame and all that, it just, sometimes it's not I guess it's a personal preference, but some people may not prefer that as much.
Yeah.
That's really cool. That's really cool.
Hey, Andrew, we have a question here from Moses talking about the remote training session on DNS and BigIQ. Wants to know what to expect in the way that the training is delivered.
Cool. It's a good question. Thanks, Moses. So DNS is one of the classes I teach a lot, and it's one of my favorite classes, actually. I think it's really cool, but it's also a bit hard to teach sometimes because, we go into a lot of details about different aspects of DNS, but we start out, we have to give the big picture first, because if you just go straight into the details, then people are, students are like, well, how's this whole thing work? Or where does this fit into the whole equation? So I usually sort of zoom out, do the big picture, and then we go through all the different aspects of it and then zoom out again and summarize it. DNS is a cool class. BigIQ, I've not taught that for a few years. I taught it initially for about a year or two. But I haven't taught it for probably 3 years.
Yeah.
But it's a great product, definitely.
Yeah. It's it really is. You can see a lot. It manages a lot. You can do a lot of stuff with BigIQ, no doubt. But you're right. DNS, it is nice to kind of see the big picture DNS, and then you can zoom in, and now you're looking at some of the components of that system. And then as you zoom back out, you're like, okay, now I kind of see how the parts and pieces work.
And the classes are very interactive. It's a live class, right? So I can tailor the class depending on the people in the class too. Some classes might have a lot of experience. Other classes may not know a lot about DNS. So, I can customize that as we go.
Yeah.
Well, the product offering itself has changed a lot over the years because when I first had, and this dates me a little bit, a 3DNS class before it was GTM, before it was F5 DNS. It was really, hey, we don't want any DNS on the box except delegate your wide IPs to the 3DNS, and then we'll manage it there. But it's got a breadth of services on the DNS platform now, so it's quite a bit more to learn than just, hey, I want to do global server load balancing.
Oh yeah, there's so much more than that.
Yeah. A whole host of things.
Yeah.
Good to go. Well, hey, I know you mentioned you like to teach DNS. So do you have a favorite class that you like to teach, maybe beyond DNS, or is that one it?
I like APM. APM is a really cool class. It's sort of customer facing. A lot of the customers are using APM portals and logon pages, and being able to customize APM for different customers and show them how to do that is really cool. And APM is a really powerful product. I really enjoy teaching that one. And another one I really like is troubleshooting. Really enjoy the troubleshooting class. We do 2 days of break fix troubleshooting, and we sort of go up through all the OSI layers, and we put faults into our big IPs. We have to fix them, and it's a lot of hands-on. All of our classes are really hands-on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back in my customer days, we did something very similar with the engineers that we trained up. Is we would have them build a solution, and then we'd come in and break it at the end of the day, and then they would have to come in the next day and figure out, and then we would go through, okay, what were you thinking here when you did this? And the 6th time you tried to do this and it didn't work, at what point did you think that maybe I need to go to a different process?
Right.
Yeah. If I was the student in that case, I would have turned to Jason and said, don't ask me what I was thinking to try to fix this. What were you thinking when you came in and messed it all up last night? No, but those are the troubleshooting classes are super interesting to me. I've been through a few of those, and it's really cool to kind of look at, hey, maybe these are some fairly common real world examples that you'll run into or whatever, but it really makes you dive deep into the product to say, this is how it all works,
Yeah, that's
really
right.
cool.
Back to DNS real quick. Marcus is asking, especially with the background knowledge beneficial to the operation of devices, do the online classes have minimum knowledge requirements? That's a good question.
I wouldn't say minimum knowledge requirements. We require that people do the admin class first. You either do the admin class as a live instructor class, and what that does is covers the fundamentals of a big IP, how to do logging, how to do virtual servers and pools and things like that. Because even if you do an APM class, you still need to know how to do virtual servers and how logging works and things like that. So we do the admin class as a prereq, and that can also be the online admin class. I think it's on Learn F5. And if you're F5 certified also, if you're an F5 certified administrator, then you don't have to do the prereq. But most people go through the admin class route.
Yeah.
Hey, F5 certified for the win. Get out there.
That's right. Certification. Dr. Ken and Heidi and Karen and the whole team, they would love that.
Yeah, those guys are awesome.
Yeah, they do a great job. A great job. Well, good stuff.
Yeah.
Good stuff. I know when you take a class, or I can speak for myself maybe for a second, when I take a class in person, then I'm there, I'm locked in, I'm focused, the teacher's standing right in front of me. I can't goof off as much, whatever. But when I'm doing it remotely, then it's easy to hit the mute button, hit the stop video, and go grab a cup of that coffee that we talked about a second ago. So Andrew, do you have any tips for the learner to try to get the most out of the training and stay focused and all that as you take these classes?
Yeah. It's sort of frustrating sometimes when people come to training and then they spend half of their time not in training. And that happens a lot, even when I do on-site classes, people get pulled out of the room or whatever. But the online classes, people can often just, turn off their video, turn off their audio and just go and hide out for a bit. Or they get pulled out of their room for something, Yep. I would just encourage people to try and avoid notifications, or instead of working from the office, and maybe some of us are not in the office right now, but, instead of doing the class from the office, do the class from home. where there's less distractions, hopefully, and turn off the phone and turn off, your email and your chat and Teams and all that stuff, and just sort of be there with the training.
Yeah. I have to do that sometimes when I'm writing or if I'm coding something, because the context switching to really get back in the moment of what you're doing, it's challenging, and certainly more challenging as I'm getting older. But even when I was young, if I was doing something and then I got called away, it was really hard to get right back there.
Yeah. And I also, as far as getting more out of the training, I always encourage students in my classes to ask a lot of questions, and also to give feedback if possible. It's challenging if I'm going for 3 days and I've got a room full of students who don't say anything the whole time. So it sort of feels like a lecture, so I sort of try and bring people out a little bit. And even when we do the introductions in class, I ask people what their hobbies are. I'm a Star Trek fan nut, and I've got my little here it is, my little Enterprise here.
There you go.
On my desk, but that I always talk about hobbies, and I try and relate that to people, because I think people want to be more personal. And a training room, you can look at people in the eye and you can say, hey, that's awesome. I love doing that too. And I try and do that in my remote training as well. Just try and bring people out a little bit.
Yeah. So we have another Team Star Trek person. So we had a Cup of Joe 3-day series during the virtual agility, and there was some heated debate on Star Trek versus Star Wars. So we did have a follow-up from Moses on, because DNS training is only 2 days, is there anything that maybe gets left out because of the amount of material?
No, I don't think so. We cover all the acceleration techniques like DNS Express and DNS load balancing and all those things. And then we also then switch across to wide IP load balancing and intelligent load balancing, and we cover all the different aspects of DNS. So it is a pretty fast class. It's 2 really full days of training, but it's a really good class.
Maybe that goes back to the focus thing we just talked about. You got to stay focused.
Right.
Be there. When you're in the training, be in the training, and you'll learn a lot, but you got to be there. Yeah, it's good stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, if some people, if they take an hour off to do something, they might miss an hour that's really important. So, it's hard to always be at your computer for the whole day. I understand that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is DNSSEC part of that curriculum as well?
Yes, it is. Yeah, we cover DNSSEC.
Okay.
We do labs for all this stuff. Yeah, there's
Nice.
a lot of labs in DNS class.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it when we have a guest on, and not only do we get the questions, but we get the answers as well.
Bam.
Fantastic.
Yeah. DNS stack. That's good stuff. That's good stuff.
And the other thing that's probably good to mention is if you're doing the training, to have multiple monitors, because trying to fit everything on one screen and having an RDP, because we use RDP for our labs through APM. And so trying to fit all that on the screen, and then trying to have the video on the screen, and trying to have the lab guide on the screen and everything else, it could be too much. So, if you have a couple of different monitors, I have 3 monitors, but I use one purely for presenting, and it's a touch screen monitor. And so when I'm presenting slides, I'll draw on the slides as I'm discussing that feature or whatever that is.
Yeah.
Looks that pretty cool.
We have a fellow F5 trainer here. Like to say that sometimes, especially for advanced WAF training, need to take it slowly because there's just a lot. And you'd like to know your thoughts on kind of pacing?
Yeah, there's a lot of material in all of our classes, right? In advanced WAF as well. So, it's important to keep on track. We don't want to get to the end of the class and then have to cover 4 chapters in half an hour. That's not going to be good. So, we have to keep on a pace. And I have the problem is I usually talk too much. So I'll get into a module and I'll be trying to get everything out of my head all at once, and so I tend to do that a lot. But as far as covering all the material, it's just a matter of keeping to the time allocated. If you're teaching a new class, it's sort of more difficult because you haven't got those times down yet, and it takes a while to work out how long things really take. And after you've been teaching a class for 5 or 8 years, you can sort of know how long every module is going to take, and how long, what time you should be at a certain point, and it doesn't always work like that. We'll get some things happen, the power goes out and I've got to turn on my generator or something like that. But it's happened.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good thing you got a generator. That's amazing.
Yeah, I got a generator.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
This is out of left field, and maybe you don't have a quick answer for this, but from a version perspective, how often are the courses updated to a version? Do you stick to the long-term release cycle versions?
So yeah, we usually, we have a whole course development area at F5, and so they're usually the ones releasing the course training materials, and then we get to teach them and we get to give feedback to them, and then they improve the product. But probably maybe every year and a half to 2 years, we'll release, maybe a year, even maybe 1 year, to release another version. But it's usually like a major version. Like the next one coming out is 15.1. We're currently teaching 14.1. 15.1 will be out in the fall.
Okay. So kind of sticking to the long-term support versions of, that makes sense.
Yeah, that does make sense.
Yep.
Super cool.
And all of our labs are written for those releases. So our labs are super reliable. They just work all the time. And so a lot of the evaluations coming from students saying, I was just amazed because the labs just work really well. They always work. And so I'm like, great, that's the goal.
That's the hope. That is the design. That's right.
Yep.
There you go, man.
The Yapa has a question. Is there any difference in boot camp training versus the virtual training, other than remote?
Are you talking about the boot camp training that's at F5, like through, who's that through? Or are you talking about an authorized training center?
Yeah, maybe you can comment again, Yapa, if you have a clarification there. While we're waiting for feedback from him, Moses is, this is a good one just for conference meetings in general. But the cadence of people talking when asking questions, how do you handle that? How do you manage that from an instructor standpoint?
Yeah, I find that people in the class usually, if someone starts talking, usually the other person will stop most of the time. So it's not usually an issue at all. And a lot of people will use the chat window in Zoom. So some people will ask questions over audio, and then other people will just be typing it in the chat window. And usually, I'll let people know that, well, I got your question. I'll get back to you in just a minute. I'm helping someone else just for a few minutes. So it's fairly easy to balance, really. With our small class sizes, it makes it easy to do that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So he way back in, so from a boot camp perspective, F5 boot camp versus the virtual training.
Yeah. I don't really know much about the boot camp because we don't do that in customer training. I did a boot camp when I first joined F5. Yeah. It was 4 weeks of LTM boot camp. I got to Seattle on day one of my employment, and I got a coffee cup and a key card, and they said, "Here you go in this room, and you got 4 weeks of LTM." So,
you're about to get to know the LTM very well.
Yeah. That was my boot camp.
Yeah. So I guess maybe it's fair to say, F5 certainly does like its own internal boot camp training for employees, maybe like sales engineers or, other technical people, whatever. But the training that you provide is not necessarily designed to be an F5 internal employee training. It's rather, it's hey, we're going to teach you about the product. It's going to be, I don't know, how long are most of your classes? I know they're not all the exact same length, but.
Yeah, they're either going to be 2, 3, or 4 days. I would say on average, they're probably 3 days on average.
Yeah.
Like DNS is 2 days, admin is 2 days. We've got, LTM is 3 days, and APM is 3 days, and so on. I think advanced WAF is 4 days, maybe.
Yeah. Okay.
But they're sort of different. But yeah, as far as the training classes go, we are teaching the product, how the product works. It's not like we're trying to teach for an exam. So, while we have certification exams, and you can go onto the certification site and there's study guides and different things, and training is part of that, we don't actually do a class to pass the exam.
Yeah.
So that's not the goal of our training.
Right. Okay.
From a lab perspective, I know that we've taken some virtual training classes with Nginx internally recently, and we had class ended, and then we had almost a 24-hour period after the fact to go back and walk through some of the labs, because I don't know if the training in these classes is set up the same way, but it's you have a certain number of steps to work through, and you do those steps. But sometimes, with pacing of the class, it's like, okay, I did all these things, but I haven't had time to really internalize exactly what I'm doing. Right. So I have a little bit of time to go back and work through those things and maybe change a few things to see, okay, do I really understand what's going on here? Instead of just, check box A and fill in, text box ABC, because sometimes it's, just following a process doesn't really, improve my learning. Right. So having that time after the fact to go back and break stuff is helpful.
Right.
And I don't know if that's, do students have access to the labs a little bit after class ends?
Yeah, we try to. It just depends on the class, right? I mean, if we're doing an admin class on Monday and Tuesday and an LTM Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, then at the end of the admin class, we only sort of have that night to do stuff in the labs, because I have to reset the labs for the next class the next morning. For example, this week I had an admin class on Tuesday and Wednesday, so I just left the labs up and everyone can just stay on and mess around, and there's actually a student in there right now, I think, doing some stuff. Okay. So yeah, it just depends on when the class ends, and we have the labs, the labs get reset on Saturday mornings. So
okay,
you might have you might have 3 days.
Schedule a class that ends on Friday, you at least have until.
Yeah, you have that night.
Yeah. Good to know. Insider knowledge.
We saw Pasilva, how do you prepare for a new version release, especially the features you want to add to training? And what makes
and we work with development on different, as say version 14.1 is out and we're teaching that, we work with development and they'll come back to us and we'll go back to them backwards and forwards, and we'll be looking at ways to improve training and add new features in, for say version 15 or whatever. And so, yeah, that's what we do a lot. I spend a lot of time watching Lightboard videos. Thank you.
I don't know who makes those things.
Well done.
Get some brownie points there. But anyway, but those are really good, and there's lots of resources. Cloud Docs, the Cloud Docs website has got some great training up there. That's really good as well. So, I mean, we have to learn as well. And sometimes it's hard when we're teaching, back to back every week. And then we're trying to also increase knowledge at the same time and get new features, incorporated and learn about new features. But yeah, it's just a matter of time to do it. Yeah,
that's right. There's a lot to go through.
Yeah. Right, so we've talked a lot about training, but how do we get it? Where do we go?
Yeah. I was interested in that too.
So on our main website, we've got a training website here for instructor-led training. I can post it up here, I think. Maybe I can't. I'm not sure if I can.
That's an f5.com.
So is that it? Did you see that?
Services. No, I think we may have to post it on our end.
Yeah, you might have to post it.
Jason will put it in the comments here.
Yeah, but you can get on that website, and once you get up there, it'll. In fact, I can bring it up real quick on my screen behind me here if my browser will come up.
We can go full screen on Andrew there.
Yeah. So this is the site here, and if you scroll down to live virtual and on-site training, down here you can see we've got training partners as well, authorized training partners that do training. But of course at F5 we also do all our training as well, and instructor-led. So you can go by course or by schedule, and you can just click on the course and you can come in and choose say APM. And once you're in APM, there's a schedule. You can pick which class you want to attend, and yeah, it's just as easy as that. So yeah,
super cool. Yeah, so right there on the site, and you register, and And then how often do you guys do the training? I mean, obviously I'm sure different schedules for different classes or whatever, but if I'm wanting to learn something, am I going to have to wait 6 months, or can I probably get into something fairly quickly, do you think?
Yeah, so usually pretty quick. I mean, I've got the schedule up right here, and you can select by, say, if you want to do F5 specifically, you can choose F5 USA. And then once you get there, it'll give you the classes that we're running and when the classes are running. If they're full, you can see a lot of them are full already. But yeah, you can usually get in pretty quick. I mean, if you wanted to do, say, iRules, you could get in the next week, or administering big IP, you could, in 2 weeks' time, you could get into that as well. So usually 1 or 2 weeks. It's pretty
okay, yeah,
pretty good there. Yeah,
you don't have to wait. You don't have to wait a crazy long time. That's good. That's good.
The on-site training. If you want on-site training, that can take a bit longer because we've got to schedule it. We've got instructors that travel, and
yeah, of course,
all the travelers.
Yeah,
but the classes are pretty flexible.
We're good to go.
Marcus brings up a great question. Vouchers. How everybody is always interested. Hey, how do I get discounts? How do I get comps? Where does that whole process come into play?
I don't really deal with that side of things at all. Some of my students probably come in with free vouchers. Some of them pay the full price. It just depends on the whole situation on their end. Sometimes sales will include things in sales deals, or maybe it's just registering on a website. Yeah, I'm sort of away from that side of things, thankfully.
Yeah.
I don't want to know if a student has paid or not. I'd rather just give them the class because I don't want to think, well, it's the student's getting it for free. I don't want to think like that. I don't want to get into it. So
yeah, good stuff. Good
yeah.
stuff. Well, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, I know we've talked about a lot of things here and gone through a lot about, the different types of training that's available, the way you provide the training, the timing, all of that stuff. So I know we're kind of running up on our allotted time here, but I wanted to just throw it over to you again, Andrew, and say, are there any other kind of final thoughts that you would leave us with, about training?
Yeah, well, really just try to reiterate that it's really interactive live training. I mean, we get our lab environment. I mean, I'm going to put this up on the screen here behind me. I'm logged in as a student right here, and I can just get in here and log in and do everything I need to do. As a student, I have a complete environment, with Windows 10, Big IP, and Big IQ, or whatever class we're doing. And then as the instructor, I can come in here and I can control everyone. So as you can see, there's my screen just there, and I can come in and view that, control it, and I can log in and I can show students, how to do something, and I can even share it at the same time, right? So not only do I just take control, but they can fight with me with the mouse, and if we want to do that, and
well, it's a mouse fight.
Yeah. Sometimes it depends on the user. Sometimes they'll want to control, and other times I'll just say, well, I'll just go ahead and show you how to do this. And I usually put it on the screen like this, so everyone in the class can see, what I'm doing and how I'm helping out. And especially in troubleshooting, it's a good way to do it. Like in APM, and I'll often we'll get some weird things happening in APM, and we'll go into the sessions and we'll look at those, and we'll look at what happened when that user logged in, and we'll go through that whole process, and that really helps people out a lot. So,
it's hugely helpful.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
Yeah,
well, that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, Moses says it loves your remote teaching platform, and I got to say I agree. I've got some tool envy going on with some of your video switching, and so I might have to look into some of that.
Yeah. So, for remote access, I mean, we just use APM, right? So all the students are connecting using APM, and we're launching an RDP session for our labs, and then I can control all that using a tool called Net Support School. And it lets me, have all the desktops together on the screen, and I can do whatever I need to do. And then as far as the video aspect goes, I'm using vMix. and it's a paid product. There's some free software, I think, like OBS, I think is like a free thing you can get. But I like vMix a lot, and it has virtual sets, and I can do things like, zoom out to the class.
Look at that. You're sitting in a large conference room, Andrew.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, I can do all sorts of stuff. And,
OBS is not for the faint of heart. It's, it's a powerful tool, but you're definitely going to have a little bit of a learning curve.
Yeah, but if you so I might look all slick and polished right there, but if I show you what it actually looks like in my office, it's right there.
Oh, check that out. I love the green screen behind. So you're not sitting at a large conference table. You pulled us all, Andrew.
So this green screen is actually about 10 feet wide by 8 feet tall, so it's actually a pretty big one. But
yeah. Well, it's doing the job. That's really cool stuff.
Yeah,
awesome.
It's all good. It's I just like to I like to give a really high quality training class, and I want students to enjoy the experience as well as learn. So I try and teach a class to students like I would want to have if I was a student. So I'm always putting in the best I can every single class, and people usually enjoy it. So that's the goal, and learn as well. So
that's right. Yeah, you can tell you do a great job. It's really good stuff.
Yeah, Leslie had a question. Can they get their setup ahead of the start of the course? I'm guessing that answers, not really, because you're recycling the lab environments from class to class, and it's a little more challenging.
Yeah, we have a site that students can use to test their access to a test site to make sure that the RDP and everything's working correctly. But the actual lab environment, it's sort of on the morning of class is when it gets opened up. Yeah. Because we do have limited resources. We have a large cluster of ESX hosts, and we run all our classes on ESX. But if we're running, 8 or 10 classes concurrently, and each class is running, 30 VMs, so we've got, hundreds of VMs all running at the same time. So we usually can't leave classes or labs running after the fact, unless there's no one using that lab. So
right.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, awesome, man. Well, hey, I know we've taken more time than we told you we would. So I apologize for taking your very valuable time, but it's been a real pleasure, Andrew. I appreciate everything you do for us, for F5, for our customers, for all the learners out there to make us more knowledgeable than we were when we started. So keep up the great work, man. I really appreciate it today.
Awesome. Thanks a lot.
Yep.
Awesome.
Thanks,
right,
Andrew.
Man. Have a great day.
Bye.
All right. Wow, that was awesome.
Andrew, what a guy, man. Wow, I really thought he was sitting at a conference table there for a minute. And then only to learn, no, it's a big green screen. No, it's good stuff.
Yep. I wanted to address a couple of questions that were unrelated to what we're talking about real quick. Mystic Pancake, love the handle there. Is this channel all about networking? I am looking to learn kernel. And so, no, we're actually application delivery, DevOps, NetOps, SecOps, all those things. However, not really kernel. You're not going to get kernel experience here. So, if that's all you're looking for, this probably isn't the channel for you. But we love that you're here, and if you want to learn other things than kernel, this is a good place for you.
Yeah, it's good stuff, man. Yeah, learn all kinds of good things.
And then really early on, Anime asked about this F5 support redirection of a syslog traffic to 8 syslog servers simultaneously. So HSL is our high-speed logging, and what it does is it will select a pool member and it'll send to one, not all. However, we do have an iApp out on the code share on DevCentral that will do what you're asking, and it utilizes iRules in order to spray to however many servers that you want to establish. And so if you go out there to the code share, or hit me up directly, I don't know that iRule spray is going to find what you're looking for, but for network, Networld Interop, or maybe it was Interop several years ago when Interop was still a thing. Is Interop still a thing? Does that happen?
I don't know. I've lost track. Coronavirus has got my brain all weird right now.
Anyway,
what's happening and not.
When the iRule was built for the Interop networking facility, because everybody has their network gear that they want to be able to demonstrate for the world, and so they want traffic, but they didn't want to duplicate everybody's traffic, or generate everybody's traffic to be able to send those log files. And so we were part of the entire interop network solution to be able to take all of those logs inbound and then spray them to everybody's devices for demonstration purposes.
Yeah.
So that does exist. It's out there in the code share. You just need to go find it, or hit me up at j.rom@f5.com, and I'll find it for you and send it to you.
Yeah. Do a little DevCentral search, a little code share. Nice.
Yep. All right.
Well, good to go, man.
What do we got next?
Well, I know we've let's see, we're at like 45 plus minutes now. So maybe just a cool little story that I saw out on Wired.com the other day. Actually, it was today. It says when it got published. And I just thought, I mean, I don't mean to laugh, but maybe I do a little bit. There's been a lot of talk about bots lately and automated traffic. And bots, I don't know, some statistics say like 40% of all traffic on the internet is bot related.
The other 60% is Netflix.
The other 60 is Netflix and Snapchat and Instagram or whatever.
That's right.
Although I like to think the other 60% is our DevCentral Connects live show, right? Of course.
There you go.
So anyway, but these bots, I don't know, they're taking over. So here's an example of bot mafia wreak havoc in the World of Warcraft Classic game. So basically, the World of Warcraft Classic game is designed to be a kind of a slow churn. This long lived. It's going to take a while to like earn resources and gain points and get gold pieces and just all those kinds of things. So, I mean, you've just got to slowly chunk through these things, chunk through the game. Well, these bots have come in and, kind of terrorized the game, if you will. And so there's a lot of different characters and things like that the bots will come in and maybe kill this high value target that's going to drop this, this coin or this, resource or whatever that they can then swoop in and steal. And then they'll go sell it on the black market, as it were, on World of Warcraft Classic to say, hey, buy this thing. It's this highly desirable, resource, but you're going to have to buy it for all these crazy coins or whatever. So there's a lot of these, like, these players that are saying, hey, I don't like this stuff, right? And there was one example of a guy that said, hey, I'm going to go in and kind of form this protest movement, if you will. And so there was this user named Lochner, and he said he got like 50 people together to do this anti-bot protest in the game itself, in the city in the game called Orgrimmar. And so he and like 50 others get in the game. They're like, hey, let's go protest these bots because they're stealing up all of our resources, right? So they form this line and they walk through this in-city game called Orgrimmar, and they're telling all the bypassers, all the other game players that are standing around, they're like, don't buy these resources. Specifically, it's this item called the Black Lotus, which is a really highly desirable thing to have in this World of Warcraft Classic game. And they're like, hey, don't be buying the Black Lotus that these bots are putting on the auction, part of our site, because then you're just going to feed the craziness of these bots, right? Well, then guess what happens? So these 50 people are walking through. They're like, stop buying this stuff, no to the bots. Well, then the bot army turns and floods the resources of Lochner, and they basically go to the publisher of the site. The publisher of World of Warcraft Classic is this company called Blizzard Entertainment. And so they mass report to Blizzard Entertainment the guy Lochner as being someone who is abusing the chat function or having abusive chat in the game. So now the bots take over and they're just mass, publishing or reporting this, abusive chat to the game, publisher Blizzard. Well, then Blizzard muted Lochner and all of his associates that were in this in-game protest. So there's all this crazy drama going back and forth. Well, Lochner was none too pleased, obviously. And so anyway, so then Lochner's like, hey, what is going on, man? So it's just this big fight between these bots who are taking over the game and these people who have been at this thing for sometimes years to build up their empire, right? And Lochner, he was saying, he kind of likened it to saying, hey, it would be as if you went through a 4-year college degree and you spent all this time, all this effort and your energy and all that stuff. And then right after graduation, you find out the college just gives away the degree for free now, So he's like, all of that time is wasted. So he's super frustrated. But, in the end, you talk about bot activity and it can wreak havoc. So I will say this about Blizzard Entertainment, the company that publishes this game. Over the last month, they have suspended or closed over 74,000 accounts on this World of Warcraft Classic. So they just announced that yesterday, that they suspended or closed over 74,000 accounts. So anyway, bot activity, it's a real thing,
Are you a gamer?
I've never really gotten into to this kind of thing. I did buy a Wii one time and played Wii Sports with tennis and whatever. So
yeah, I've got the Wii and I was somewhat okay at the tennis. We have an Xbox and don't really use it a whole lot.
Right.
And my son bought our family a Switch. He went up to college and he wanted to be able to play, remotely with us. And we'll do the Mario Kart because that one I'm, at least I have the bullet to bring me up to the front.
Right. Mario Kart is
in
pretty
12th
amazing.
place, which is often.
Yeah.
But I don't game much. My kids have tried to get me into Minecraft a little bit, and I can't even Minecraft. So
yeah,
I have no shot at things like World of Warcraft. But I have been asking about the things like the virtual reality head glasses.
Right.
It's like if I could look, but still move with the joysticks instead of the move and look. Right. That's the thing that gets me with all these first-person shooters. I can't look one way with a stick and go the other with a stick. Right. I have to be able to actually look, or I'm a mess. So once I buy they say it's possible. So if I can buy a virtual headgear, then maybe I'll start getting into Call of Duty or something like that.
Maybe there's a shot. Exactly. So
maybe
but I tell you,
somebody.
With a lot of hard work, you could do this one day.
Right.
Yeah, but there's obviously, gaming is just such a huge thing nowadays with so many people. So so to know that bots, all these malicious bots and activity on that are infiltrating games, and man, there's DDoS attacks that are coming after people and just all kinds of stuff. So bots are everywhere. So bots are a problem. So
yeah, Tetris is my jam. I'm pretty good at Tetris. So there's one on the Switch. It's Tetris 99, and it's not enough that you play Tetris yourself. There's like 99 other players you're playing against, and you can like drop your 4 on someone else if they're getting towards the top and they're struggling. Gotcha. You can knock them out really quick by getting a Tetris, and that's Tetris is my jam.
Nice. So
a little behind the scenes on lightboards from Tao for the lightboard lessons. You have mirrored shirts. Yeah, right in the other room, about 20 feet away from me, is my backwards shirt. Yes, we have mirrored shirts for that.
Yep.
So, all right. So I had something I wanted to talk about.
Sure. Yeah. Of course.
And this is in the realm of privacy and the idea that you still have any. And you have
newsflash, you don't.
Yeah, newsflash, you don't. So if you're on a country road and you feel like you need to. You got a little phantom booger syndrome going on or whatever, you need to, that's not even private anymore. You're, and so anyway, this article is about the Customs and Border Protection drones flying in the U.S. and beyond. And so, this is on Gizmodo. So if you want to go out, it's from the 9th. You want to go check that article out. It's just, one of those things to where if their job one is to monitor the border, and they're in scope of that, fine. But then you start to look at their mapping data, and further on down, you've got the Mexico border as well. But you see, hey, not all that activity is actually on the border. And in the article, talk about with all the rioting and unrest here in the United States, they talk about in the article about how they loaned out their drone to local municipalities down in Minneapolis to do flyovers and all that. And it's like then you kind of get into the legal ramifications. Well, do they really have the legal justification or right to do those kinds of things? And there's departmental cooperation going on there. So it's just I'm not a fan of that kind of intrusion within our own borders and spying on American citizens without legal justification to do that, and all those kinds of things. So interesting article to go discuss and just inform yourself on the privacy and or lack thereof in what we have today.
It is pretty shocking to know that, man, everything you're doing is being watched, or a huge part of what you're doing is being watched. And I don't know if we really did know the extent, to which we are being monitored and watched, and Big Brother is out there and all that stuff, would it change the way that we behave, or would it change our opinion about the validity of some of these things or whatever? But it is cool. Well, I say cool. It's good, I think, to educate yourself on these things, like what is actually happening out there. And, so it's, but there's definitely something to be said about, hey, this is my life. I mean, can I not just live it? And, why do you have to fly a drone over my house and watch things or whatever? But yeah, it's an interesting discussion. So,
my wife gets on me all the time because I have this song catalog in my head that constantly gets kicked off by trigger words and all this. It's my life, and so I got Bon Jovi,
a little Bon Jovi
playing up in my head right now, and I won't sing it for you because nobody needs to hear that.
Yeah, but it's now or never.
All right, so we got a question. Would you say that using Terraform is the best way for managing iRules in GitHub? That depends. Terraform is a good tool for using to manage your infrastructure, manage configuration stuff for your infrastructure. But it's a larger discussion than just iRules with that, especially if you're going to use some of the tools that we have with AS3 and whatnot to do that. So if you're not using AS3 for that, then maybe there's a specific use case where Terraform makes sense for that. But that's a conversation we can probably have. You provide more details if you want to open a question on DevCentral with a little bit more context there. We can get you to maybe a better answer. But Terraform is a great tool. In fact, HashiCorp has a lot of great tools, and I'll be having a light board on that in a few weeks, probably on the HashiCorp portfolio and how our services and solutions are best deployed with their tools. So stay tuned for that.
Yeah, great question. A lot of great tools out there, a lot of great ways to use them. So, well, good stuff. Well, Jason, I think we are nearing the end of this episode, this show of DevCentral Connects. It's the hour seemed, at least for me, and I think for you as well, tends to go by pretty quick. So,
it did, yeah. I really didn't anticipate our conversation with Andrew would go as long as it was, but it was engaging, and I learned a lot about the services and the approach. And
it was fantastic. It was fantastic, and hopefully people took a lot of good information away from that and go out there and register for a class and learn even more. DNS is coming up, or that's a great one, or so just so many great things. So anyway, so to all of you who join us every week, we appreciate it. It's good to connect with our community, and it's just been another pleasure here today to host this episode of DevCentral Connect. So we will, with that, I guess we'll sign off and say see you next time, right?
I'm going to say no. I'm not ready to sign off because I have one more thing to say.
Please.
Last week I got to enjoy some R&R. Next week John gets to enjoy some R&R.
That's right.
So next week it'll be just me. And we're gonna dive into some cool coding things, and I'll get the invite out later this week or first thing next week. But we'll have a half an hour of just me in the community next week, talking about. Maybe we'll dig into some of these iRules questions and dig in and have some fun with that.
Yeah, super cool, exciting, man. I wish I could be here so I could join.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll be back the next time after that. Good to go, man.
Yep. So we'll see you on DevCentral Connects in 2 weeks. It's just an intimate fireside chat with me next week.
So come back next week.
Yep.
All right. We'll see you, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.